She's been acting differently. Not distant, not cold, but something in the way she moves through the day feels altered. You notice it because subtle shifts are hard to ignore. And naturally, your mind starts filling the gaps. Is she losing interest? Or is there something else beneath the surface, something she's not telling you? What if I told you that the behavior you interpret as rejection is often the exact opposite? That what seems like hesitation, indifference, or distraction could be a sign of the deepest attachment she feels, so deep, in fact, that she fears it, fears losing herself in it, fears letting it be seen. There's a pattern here, a hidden rhythm that almost every man misses. Women who care the most are often those who act as if they care the least. It's not a game, it's a defense. It's a mechanism of survival, and understanding it changes everything. Think back to the last time she seemed off. Perhaps she laughed when you expected seriousness. Perhaps she deflected questions about her feelings. Perhaps a compliment landed softly, as if it were nothing. Your first instinct is to assume she's pulling away, that her interest has waned. But consider this. Studies in social psychology suggest that women deeply in love are more likely to conceal their feelings than those only casually interested. The more intense the attachment, the more guarded the expression. This is the vulnerability paradox. The deeper the feelings, the more terrifying the exposure. Love and danger, biologically, trigger the same cocktail of adrenaline, dopamine, and oxytocin as a threat response. Falling for someone activates the body in ways indistinguishable from fear. The closer she feels to you, the more she's compelled to hide, to protect herself from the intensity she cannot yet manage. This is where observation becomes crucial. Signs she's deeply invested are often subtle, almost invisible if you're not paying attention. The first sign, she keeps your connection private. Outwardly, she may minimize your relationship, downplay your importance, even insist to others that you are just friends. This is not disinterest, it's preservation. Admitting her feelings openly risks irrevocable exposure. Once others know, she loses control over her own emotional safety. Watch for the contradictions. She may deny her attachment verbally, but reveal it in the smallest gestures, the fleeting glances, the knowing smiles from friends who understand without her having to say a word. These moments are quiet proof. She cannot completely hide it. The second sign, she remembers everything but pretends she does not. Every casual remark, every fleeting preference, every minor detail you once shared is cataloged, filed away, and carried in her mind like precious cargo. When she downplays it, it's not forgetfulness, it's protection. To admit the depth of her attention would be to admit how vulnerable she is, and vulnerability, as we know, is terrifying. Then comes the third, and perhaps most counterintuitive sign. She acts unaffected when you're near other women. If jealousy were present, it would reveal itself. But the truth is, a woman deeply in love with someone she fears to lose may overcompensate, presenting a mask of indifference or support. It's a defense mechanism psychologists call reaction formation. Her internal struggle, the conflict between desire and fear, creates a performance of calm that conceals the turmoil beneath. Each micro-expression, each fleeting tension in her posture, each hurried glance or slight withdrawal of attention tells a story her words cannot. She is balancing affection with fear, love with self-protection, closeness with the need for control. The fourth sign is even more paradoxical. She avoids serious conversations about feelings. Most men interpret this as disinterest, but the opposite is true. The more invested she is, the higher the stakes of vulnerability. Speaking openly about emotions transforms them into tangible reality, something she can no longer protect. By deflecting, by joking, by redirecting, she maintains her sense of safety, while secretly testing the environment for whether she can trust her heart to be safe. And the fifth, the ultimate confirmation, she tests you in subtle, almost imperceptible ways. Canceling plans, retreating for a day, sharing a vulnerability only to retract it, observing your response to a small provocation. All of these are signs she is evaluating whether she can safely allow her feelings to exist, whether you are worthy of holding space for them. Understanding these signs is the first step. Reacting impulsively, demanding confessions, or forcing her vulnerability destroys the delicate equilibrium she has created. Patience, consistency, calm presence, these are the tools you wield, not words or arguments. By creating safety without pressure, by offering presence without need, you allow her guarded heart to open on its own terms. Her silence is not absence. Her deflection is not dismissal. Her caution is not lack of love. Watch, wait, and act with deliberate care. What you see on the surface is rarely the full story. What lies beneath is far more powerful, far more meaningful, and far more vulnerable than most men ever realize.
The deeper someone falls, the more their mind becomes a battlefield. Love, after all, is not a gentle drift. It's a storm. And when a woman feels more than she can safely express, that storm doesn't calm. It shifts into hidden currents, subtle signals that only the most observant will notice. Sign number 6, she mirrors you, but inconsistently. You might catch her adopting your phrasing, your gestures, even your posture, but only sometimes, and never fully. It's almost imperceptible. Why? Because if she mirrored you completely, it would be a declaration. It would be a signal to the world and herself that she is emotionally entwined. By mirroring just enough to reveal interest, but never fully, she keeps her feelings contained while secretly testing if you recognize her attention. Sign 7, her mood is tethered to you, but she hides the tether. When you're joyful, she radiates warmth, but subtly, almost below your notice. When you're frustrated or distant, there's a shadow that crosses her expression. She feels it, she notices it, she tracks it, but she masks it. To admit how much your emotional state affects her would be to admit how deeply she is attached, and attachment is dangerous. And here comes the truly paradoxical one, the sign that almost no man interprets correctly. Sign 8, she pushes you away when she wants to pull you close. This isn't rejection, it's preemptive protection. She senses the intensity of her own feelings and fears what those feelings mean. Fear becomes action, pulling back, creating distance, testing your patience. These are not games, these are self-preservation. She's standing at the edge of surrender, and her body and mind do everything to avoid falling too quickly. Sign 9 is silent, almost invisible, but it's the most telling of all. Her micro-expressions betray her internal struggle, a twitch of the eyebrow, a slight tension in the jaw, a hesitation in speech. When she's around other women, when you mention future plans, when she hears someone praise you, these tiny cracks in her mask are the truth leaking out. She can't fully contain the storm inside, even when she tries. Then there's sign 10, the way she values your presence over everything else. Not overtly, not loudly, but quietly. She will rearrange her schedule, make compromises, subtly prioritize moments with you, and she will not announce it. This is love in its most dangerous form, because it cannot be measured or predicted. It exists only in the space between moments, in the choices she makes silently, in the unseen sacrifices she grants without recognition. Now, here's the part that almost every man gets wrong. You see these signs, her silence, her tests, her subtle attention, and the instinct is to confront, to demand clarity, to force honesty. That is exactly what destroys it. Love, when this intense, cannot be forced. Vulnerability coerced is not vulnerability at all. It is collapse. She will retreat. She will protect herself even more fiercely. She will disappear emotionally, leaving you to wonder if it was ever real. So what do you do instead? You create the invisible scaffolding. You are present without pressure. You respond without overreaction. You acknowledge without exposure. When she withdraws, you don't chase. When she tests, you don't panic. When she masks, you don't probe. You become a steady gravity in her storm, a safe harbor without demanding entry. This is the alchemy of patience and perception, the ability to recognize love in disguise and to respond in a way that does not shatter it is rare. It requires observation, restraint, and a willingness to endure ambiguity. You cannot accelerate it, you cannot manufacture it, you can only prove through calm consistency that her heart can exist safely in your presence.
Sign 11. She disappears without warning. No calls, no messages, no explanations. Most men panic. They assume loss. They interpret absence as rejection. But in reality, this is not about you. It is about her internal world, a self-imposed exile to manage overwhelming emotion. Her mind is balancing desire against fear. She retreats not because she doesn't care, but because she does, too much. The intensity of love, left unchecked, terrifies her. And this is where your restraint becomes essential. To chase is to shatter her fragile equilibrium. To wait is to show the gravity of your presence. Sign 11. She uses silence as a test. When she is deeply invested, she will withhold words, delay responses, or change topics. It is not cruelty, it is calibration. She is assessing if your attention is grounded, if your composure is steady, if your patience is genuine. Her silence is a mirror. Your reaction reveals more than any confession could. Do you panic? Do you beg? Or do you respond with calm certainty, proving through action that your steadiness is real? Sign 13. She oscillates between warmth and distance. One moment she is radiant, fully engaged, utterly present. The next, she retreats, seemingly cold, unreadable. This fluctuation is not a flaw, it is a survival mechanism. Her emotional system is wired to protect itself, and love, when profound, is simultaneously intoxicating and terrifying. The deeper the feelings, the more extreme the swing. If you learn to read it, you will see that distance is never total absence. It is preparation, it is caution, it is the silent heartbeat of love. Sign 14. She challenges you subtly. Critiques, teasing, questioning, not to harm, but to gauge your stability. She watches how you respond under pressure, how your mind navigates tension, how your presence holds or fractures. These are not tests of devotion, they are assessments of safety. A woman in love wants to know that she can lean without fear, that her surrender will not destroy her. Your calm, measured responses build that trust. And finally, sign 15. She shows love in fragments, tiny gestures, tiny details, whispered affirmations, fleeting touches, or subtle prioritizations. You may almost miss them or dismiss them as coincidence, but they are deliberate. Each fragment is a secret breadcrumb, a signal that her heart exists even when her words deny it. This is love in its rawest form, dangerous, fragile, and profound. So how do you navigate this darkness? How do you respond to love that hides, that tests, that retreats? You do not force it. You do not demand explanations. You do not try to decode every subtle signal like a puzzle to solve. Instead, you cultivate the one thing that can withstand her storm: presence. Presence is calm. Presence is restraint. Presence is patience. Presence is showing up without anxiety, offering support without pressure, and existing as a stable force she can rely on. You do not chase, you do not pry, you do not insist. You simply exist, grounded, centered, consistent. And in that space, her love will emerge naturally, slowly, carefully, fully, because it knows it is safe to do so. Here's the paradox. The more she hides, the more she loves. The more she tests, the more she cares. The more she retreats, the deeper the attachment. And the man who understands this, who can endure ambiguity and honor her internal rhythms, becomes magnetic, not through words, not through effort, but through the quiet power of his own composure. Remember, love is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it hides in shadows, sometimes it waits for someone wise enough to recognize it, patient enough to let it emerge on its own terms. Your role is not to illuminate it forcefully. Your role is to provide the gravity that allows it to appear naturally. If you've watched this far, take a moment to reflect. How often have you mistaken distance for indifference? How often have you chased when you should have waited? How often have you missed the signs hiding in silence, subtle gestures, and emotional shadows? The difference between chaos and connection is perception, and the courage to act with restraint. If this video resonates, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and take a moment to subscribe. Mastering love, like mastering the self, begins with observation, patience, and the quiet strength to hold your center while the world around you shifts and storms. Stay grounded, stay aware, and remember, the deepest connections are often the ones hidden in plain sight. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more insights into human behavior, emotional mastery, and the quiet power that transforms relationships from confusion into clarity.